Okay. So if anybody out there on Facebook can hear me now and are still actually watching it, go ahead and comment there. So yeah, so nobody really heard any of that. So again, welcome everybody to the soft opening of areyouFulfilled.com. And again, if you would like to join our community, it is free. Um, and yeah, we are here to literally create some things and especially create some avenues for parenting, for the way we process our feelings. And, you know, if you're interested in what the fuck fulfillment is, this is a nice place too. We do a lot of verses like care versus concern, okay? Respect and disrespect versus equality, okay? You know, so learning to put ourselves first means we have something to share. And this is a big, 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 big thing. So, absolutely. So, why don't we go ahead, since nobody's really watching this, we're going to end this and start it one more time. If you're in the Zoom, just stay there. I'm just, okay. And if you guys have any questions, the audience cannot see you at the moment.
I'm geeking out a little bit because in my arm space, I have this book and my Orisha cards.
Oh, very nice.
And I have not yet read this book, so I can't stand behind it, but it relates quantum physics, minerals, plants, animals, and human souls in a beautiful way.
Excellent. Very
So
beautiful.
I feel like I'm in the right space. And
Excellent.
hopefully we can all get here eventually.
Very nice. Very nice. So we have started the video again, everybody. This is a little soft opening of areyoufulfilled.org. And if you follow the line here, you can become part of our community free. And we are going to be producing things here. I wanted to produce this on there, but that has not happened at the moment. But fulfillment, let's go ahead and bring up fulfillment. And I kind of told my story when nobody was listening earlier, which is par for the course for me, really, because I don't like to really tell my story or live from the story itself. The story is the thing that binds us in a lot of ways to the emotional charge. And so this work, again, birthed out of Light Body Evolution, and I'm making this space for my practitioners and for my clients and for everybody that is interested in fulfillment and also being connected to a community of fulfillment. And so hopefully you can hear me on Facebook out there, and if you can, go ahead and let me know there. Yeah, we just kind of kicked it back on there, and of course, as usual, all the details always don't get taken care of, so that's what happens in production. So we do have some people in the Zoom meeting, and if you guys want to share anything or talk about fulfillment, you're welcome to do that. And 3 participants. Let me see here if there's any more. Nope, that's everybody. So again, if you're just joining us, hopefully you can hear me. And I guess I'm going to repeat some of those things. I hope that's not an issue for everybody. Let me see here. All right. If somebody can hear me here. There it is. All right, we're streaming. So, again, yes. So, yeah, okay. I'll just start over again. So, where did this all come from? What is fulfillment? How do I get fulfilled? If you find on the website, it will bring some questions forward. You know, if you're ready to put yourself first, if you're ready to get real about things. And the warrior tradition and the philosophy of life itself, of harmony through conflict, is definitely a path that we can utilize to truly understand ourselves and to begin to create our life from our presence, and from that presence we get fulfilled. And so one thing maybe we could start talking about very slowly here is that when we trust ourselves, then we live in the heart. And this is a huge part of care versus concern. But again, fulfillment is what we're here to talk about today. And how do we get fulfilled? What is the process of fulfillment? And is fulfillment external? You know, and how many times have we looked for that fulfillment externally in our lives? Is a really big question. So again, if anybody's watching and they can hear me, go ahead and see, I think I'm on the wrong video here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, there I am. There we are. Let me make sure this is public real quick, you guys. Here we go. Yep, it's public. Okay. So anybody out there wants to comment if they can actually hear what I'm saying would be great. I'm pretty sure you can. So, hello. Okay. All right. All right. So, again, this is a soft opening of areyoufulfilled.com or .org, which is an organization, a community for us to continue the conversation. And when you come into the community, you're going to find a lot of short videos that come from our course, Light Body Evolution. And this is also for those out there that are seeking fulfillment and want to really figure out what it's all about. What is fulfillment? What is it to get really realistic about, you know, what's going on in my life? And so how do I face the petty tyrants in life? How do I face my victim? How do I move beyond the story? How do I put myself first? So luckily life is teaching us all this process, and returning to nature and returning to receiving to share who we are, of course, is a big part of fulfillment. And as externalizers and validators, which I am a validator, I usually open up class every week like, hello, my name is Ty and I'm a validator. I seek validation externally in ways that blow my mind even to this day. But all of that validation has taught me what receiving is. And my ability to receive is developed through facing that validation. And so in our process in Light Body Evolution, we read the binary code to look at the wobble of our emotional experience, so where we're seeking things outside of ourselves, we're investing in things, we're expecting return to come through those things, just like good capitalists. Aren't we good capitalists in that way, right? Instead of putting ourselves first. And if it was super easy to put yourself first, then you would just wake up one day and said, I'm going to put myself first and it's going to be no problem. But of course, our value and how we feel about things is not tangible. It's not tangible in the way that I can touch it. It's vibrational. And, you know, music isn't touchable either, but when you listen to it, it affects how you feel. And so our feelings are the same way. So we're inviting everyone into our community today to bring forth the conversation around fulfillment. And one of our big things is to create content to help parents and to help everybody really go through your feelings. For example, that rejecting ourselves and going through rejection really helps us understand and accept and appreciate ourselves. And without that rejection, how would we really understand? And, you know, when your kids get rejected, you know, sometimes we're at a loss because we're like, hell, I don't know how to deal with rejection. And so we want to create a different way and use some science to help everybody understand that the laws of physics where vibration can really apply to our feelings, and to go through our feelings and not to avoid them will help us begin to shape them. And, you know, if I can say anything that I've learned over the last couple of years is I've learned that awareness shapes our reality, and it also shapes gravity. Now that can be a little hard to understand, although the science is quite simple. So earlier I talked about the origins of this, and I even told my story. You guys believe that I talked about my story? So I'm going to abbreviate that for you again. So if you've heard it already in the Zoom, I'm sorry. Music, of course, was my first connection, and being present on the bandstand was my first connection to spirituality. And then I got into astrology, and it taught me that I may excel at working with energy. So I began to develop that energy practice, my astrology practice, my Thai massage practice also. Allowed me to really work with people and not kind of depend on that for money. So developing my emotional process kind of went right along the way. And in 2009, we opened what we call the Heart Metaphysics School. And the Heart Metaphysics School was about teaching energy work and giving people a good, solid foundation for working with energy. And I was introduced, of course, to the binary code and how it works with the energy system. And some people like Cindy Dell helped me with some of those things. And then I was introduced to the Toltecs and their energy system. And finally, I started watching Dan Winters tell me about how charge collapses in the universe. And I was like, he's telling me and showing me what happens in the emotional session when people transforms and transmutes things. And I was like, well, my goodness, there is a science to it. And I started to realize that the language of how we organize things or disorganize things is vibrational and very specific in its organization. And then how we process our feelings is how we begin to organize and collapse things. Now, that may sound quite vague at the moment, because I'm mostly trying to simplify everything here. And on areyoufulfilled.org, that's what we want to do, is we want to simplify things where you can utilize some of these techniques in your daily life. And some of it, for example, real simple, is practicing receiving. And your breath is the only thing that I can connect in your life to receiving. And we never exhale before we inhale. So we breathe in and we exhale. It is the shareable wave that we all share. And in 2009, I had a client levitate in my office, and it changed my whole perspective. And I knew instantly that the physics were being played out in front of me, and that there was something that I needed to really pay attention to, because there was something happening here that was understandable in a way. And so diving into the physics of sound, the physics of light, and how all those things organized are part of the work that we do in the educational part of Light Body Evolution, that really works with the whole binary code of how to really organize your field, how to recognize disorganization. And everybody that's been studying there, I call them fulfillment specialists, fulfillment practitioners. And this is the way I kind of want to shape this environment, because fulfillment is the thing that we all want. And seeking validation outside of ourselves for the fulfillment is the thing that we all have in common. Anybody out there not seek fulfillment through a relationship or seek it through your career? And if anybody was truly fulfilled by those things, please comment and share, because I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. And that fulfillment is an inside job. Fulfillment has to do with what it is built upon. And one thing I think we've definitely learned is that care is the foundation of happiness and fulfillment. And if we know what we care about, then we have a foundation to be happy. And to know what we care about, we have to face our concerns and realize that concern is control. It's not care. And, this is a response in our unconscious programming where we were betrayed and we decided to trust no one, including ourselves. And now we must reject everything before we're rejected. We must judge everything before we're judged. And we must control the outcome before we're abandoned again. instead of realizing that we invested trust in something that did not return that trust, and that's not the same as trusting ourselves. And I think that's where we all really start on the fulfillment journey, is trusting ourselves. And without trusting ourselves, there really is, we don't know what we care about. Then we have to control everything, and here's all my red flags, and now I have to push everybody out because this, and I can't go through this again. Even though I never really went through it, I just avoided it, didn't I? So fulfillment and emotional responsibility go together in a big way, and to live in this body beyond your own self-pity is a hell of an accomplishment in this life. And it can be done. And facing the petty tyrants in life is how we grow spiritually. So it can be very powerful to face our own petty tyrant. And for those of you that are on the fence about our community, it's free, by the way. And it's about being real. And, if you come here and you post stuff about pity, we'll entertain it, but we'll also be ruthless and cunning, without manipulation or vindictiveness, about getting real about it. So it's not like we're big avoiders of stuff. We talk about real stuff, and we want to have real conversations. And we want to assist you in a way on this path of fulfillment, because this is the path that we all end up on. And I think relationships is a big part of this, isn't it? Especially for all the women out there and the men, that fulfillment is this dream, and the pleaser and abuser program is what we have to face to have it. And nobody starts in the place of the soulmate place. They start with the pleasing and abuse, and have to really understand how to do their best and what they're actually responsible for. So I'm probably rambling here. Okay, that usually happens. But again, this is the place we're going to launch some things. We're also going to open it up for people that want to support in ways. We also have some ideas for documentaries and things that we want to do. And you're going to see some pitch decks and things come up around those, because whether we get funding for anything or not, we're going to do them anyway, because I'm kind of a guerrilla where that is concerned, and we're just going to do it. And we're doing it right now. And so if you're looking for a place to be present, and where you can be present and good feedback and have community around the things and the real things that you're facing in life, areyoufulfilled.org could be that place for you. If you're struggling, there's a lot of people there that have worked with our techniques in light body evolution, and a lot of them were already amazing healers before they found me. Okay, so there's some really talented people, and it's always amazing to me that the class will have people that are just beginning in it, and then we'll have people that have been in it for 25 years. And I think we can all be in the same space, and we all have something to learn from each other in that. And how we build community over the next 20 years is going to be uber important. And we're moving away from Pluto and Capricorn. We're moving away from this capitalistic identity. And, this is why I think a lot of things in businesses in the spiritual world were scaled, okay? Because it made sense, and it was capitalistic, and, everybody's scaling their business and all of that. But I think, and rather than scaling something, I want to come back to this place of community. I want to know what you have to share. And I want to share what I have to share. And I think that's how we find the equality of what community is. And I hope there's all kinds of other communities that I can join and interact in that way. So we got some people in the Zoom, and if they have any questions or anything they want to ask, everybody's quiet on Facebook too here. Yes. But again, welcome to areyoufulfilled.org. Please follow the thing, and you can sign up. It's on the school platform, which is a downloaded app on your phone. And we will have weekly stuff there. We're going to have some very short courses also that are free, so that so that you can use it as a resource. And posting things there, posting big questions that we can discuss around things, especially for all you healers out there that have big questions when you come across stuff in your work, when you come across issues, when you come across, how do I help somebody with this problem? And, framing this work in a way is all about self-empowerment. This is why we have the client read their own code. This is why we have the client figure out what they're not receiving. We're not here to tell them. We are here to help them find it so that they become responsible for themselves, so that they own it. And if everybody out there is not making me into something that I'm not, I'm super happy with that, okay? Because I want to be just like you. I am just like you. I have the same problems in life. I want to be happy. I want to have healthy relationships. As a man, I want to show up and do my best. I face the same things that all men face in that, around security and, the world and all those other fun things. And I do appreciate that the warrior tradition gives me a way to know that what I care about is my authenticity and my integrity. And that if I support what I care about, that I'm not going to regret it. I'm not going to regret it. So this year, I'm streamlining everything, and that means we're created a lo-fi channel for people to chill. We're creating a brainwave channel for people to sleep, and we're creating the areyoufulfilled.org for people to get on board with putting themselves first and understanding that that means they have something to share. And our old world is us investing so many things in other people and things, and then getting pissed when we don't receive anything, okay? And I think this is at the core of our victim and our tyrant story, where we made no boundaries, and then we had to make all the boundaries, because giving does not equal receiving. And if anybody thinks it does, please come on, let's talk about it, okay? Because if what you give is what you're receiving in life, people want to know, because people want that to be real, okay? So what I found is that what we receive equals what we share, and that's how nature does it. And I'm pretty sure we are quite part of this place and part of the universe. So capitalism really isn't. Investment with the expectation of return has no basis in physics. I can't find any. If you guys can, please let me know. I keep asking people to help me find those physics, because notice that that's what we were taught like it's real. And it is probably the biggest source of stress in our lives and unfulfillment. And, I'm not going to talk bad about the older generations, but the density that you guys have been dealing with is quite dramatic sometimes. And, like, for example, being concerned about people can be an epidemic in a way. And, it's control. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And when we project our fears, we can become very, very concerned about things. And we can make that into something that it's not. And I think we've seen in the world that, some people think that people give a damn about other people's opinions. And I'm pretty sure you don't. Just being honest. Because I'm not sure I give a damn about anybody else's opinion. So, areyoufulfilled.org is a place for us to have real conversations, okay? I don't have to be right. I don't have to be the head of this whatever, okay? It's really for everybody. And this is just where it's going to be. And if you're into it, we want you there, and interacting and playing with us, and having fun with us, because that's what it's really about. And how do we get present? How do we deal with the dialogue's issues? How do we deal with this projection of everything and avoiding of the past? And getting present is really the answer to so much of that. And that's kind of what I've seen over the years too, is that we all have this thing about seeking validation outside of us. And I was talking to a friend recently that works with the code, and she was saying that everybody always comes up with the second code, which is feeling overwhelmed emotionally and devalued. And I'm like, it's so big, isn't it? It's such a big story for all of us. And once we begin to show up in our own value, then we can have healthy relationships. Then we can know what we care about, because having shared value and shared care are uber important. And then after that, what I find in our spiritual development is that we're still really good projectors of things, okay? And we'll use the energy in the brow here, which is a big waste in the front of the field, because we're projecting the outcome to everything instead of opening our awareness field. And I think we really got bought into that our projections meant more than they do. And opening the awareness field, especially in light body evolution in the class, I've seen that people build that. So usually over a year's time or two, having a solid foundation of the value, what they care about, opens the awareness field, and the projections kind of shift. And the self-doubt begins to shift also. And maybe it'd be good for us for a moment just to become aware of the back of our field, where we receive. And in the front of the field, of course, is where things are a lot more personal. So, again, if you're just showing up or you came on earlier and I didn't have the sound on, that was super fun. Yeah, we're just talking about areyoufulfilled.org. We have a couple people on the Zoom here with me that you can't see. And if they want to ask any questions, of course, they are welcome to do so. Or if we have any questions out there on my Facebook page, definitely, yeah. All right, none of that. So if you go to areyoufulfilled.org, there is a couple links on there to join our school community. And after we get off of here, I will go and get you in there and all of that. But yes. Mm-hmm.
I would be curious if you could speak more about the code.
Okay, yeah. So the binary code, or our energy field, okay, and this is where we work with the 12 codes. And so most people are familiar with the 7 codes in the body, and they call them the chakras. And what's interesting about the African and the Indian is that our history is a little racist, and most people don't know that there were 5 founding cultures, and that was Kemet, Egypt, the Indus Kush Valley, the Canaanites, where Canaan, where Israel is now, Phoenicia, and some other one I can't remember right now. But, you know, they had the tree of life, and all of those cultures, their cosmology is the tree of life. And you will see the many gods, okay, that are the aspect of really one creator, okay? And that's a big issue in our modern age, from polytheism to monotheism, and there's a difference. And I always say that polytheism is the functionality of monotheism for us to understand creation and how it affects and connects to nature. So, as saying that, the binary code, you may be more familiar with the chakras, and most people are looking at the energy systems in a very two-dimensional way. But imagine that in the front of my field, if I pour my value out into something in the world, right? I'm going to invest all my value into this experience. Now, doing that, I could shut down in my own value. I also could have anxiety. I could shut down and question the worth of my value. I could also feel like I'm suffering and being devalued. I could be concerned because I'm being devalued. I could lie to myself and say, I'm going to be valued later. I could doubt myself. I could abandon myself. I could punish myself. I could get really pissed off at myself. I could run away from all of my problems. I could give my power away, or I could protect myself. And I just went through all 12 of the codes around investing my value in the ways that I could shut down from receiving. And, you know, you may ask, and you hear this, well, what the hell is wrong with investing? Okay. You know, can you invest without expectation? And I'm going to tell you that you can't. A lot of people think they can. And if they're actually doing it, I'm going to call it sharing. And sharing is when we receive and actually share something. So looking at the code and the combinations of the code and getting very specific of how we're coded, or what's happening. And for example, validation. Have you ever been validated by the world? Anybody? Anybody got validated? And man, if you did, it would be like the the line that you kept getting back in, right, over and over again. This validated me. I'm doing this. But of course, our experience in life shows us something different, doesn't it? So, since value is not tangible in the way that my desk or my table or even my body seems tangible, but notice it's the thing that we want the most, isn't it? It's the thing that we crave the most, and we thought we were going to get it externally. So there's 144 combinations of the externalization, and it really breaks down into 12 major chapters. And let's just go through those for a moment. The chapter of worth would be your first chapter, and this would be your traditional root chakra, of course. And anybody heard of anxiety? Anybody familiar with anxiety? Yes. Okay. Investing your worth externally can lead to varieties of anxiety, and there's probably 12 varieties of anxiety, okay, that are the rest of the code. We just went through value and investing value and shutting down from value. We also now can create a belief system and live in that belief system and suffer all of the consequences of that belief system also, because I'm pretty sure all belief systems separate you, and what you know connects you. Which I am from Texas, which is kind of a weird thing to say, isn't it? That belief systems don't connect you, okay? And I'm pretty much of the opinion, not that I, care if you care, that they don't, okay? And that what I know in my heart is a lot more functional than what I believe, because I can believe shit that's not real, and not believing in stuff and thinking it doesn't have an effect on me is ridiculous. Okay, I'm not going to believe that. Don't believe in it. Don't matter. Okay? The universe don't care if we believe in it or not, okay? And I think intellectually sometimes we think that's a way out of things, and it's a prison. It's such a prison, isn't it? So that is the mental validation, like having to be right. And if I'm right, everybody else is wrong. And I'm sure that feels really good, right? So also being concerned about things, or I'm going to pour my heart into things. I'm going to save you. And then I shut down from receiving care. And why don't you love me? I did everything for you. Have we not been there? Have we not been in that place where we just gave everything and then wonder why we didn't receive anything? So next is we can lie to ourselves, okay, about how we feel. We can lie to ourselves that we're going to be validated when, that we're going to receive if and when. Okay, it's always next Tuesday or the next week or some other fucking time. It's always out in the distance, okay? This is the dialogue. It can never be now. The dialogue has no now. It only has the future and the past. It cannot be present. So in our brow here, our projection. And one thing about Westerners, you guys, we are excellent at projecting things, okay, and doubting ourselves, which is huge. And then, of course, abandonment, 7, connection. Self-punishment and pleasing comes up next in our validation world. Help versus assistance, helping others instead of assisting others. Imagine if we pour all of our energy into one situation and that situation doesn't come through. And we've had that experience over and over again. The alternative is that when you pour that energy into yourself, you have it to share with the person in the situation and everybody. And there's one thing about receiving. When you receive, it becomes instantly shared. It's not a switch that you turn on, that I'm going to share this energy. It literally already happens. And this is where equality comes forward, because that's another thing I've discovered is I'm pretty sure we don't really understand equality, So, or we could improve on that. So the 10th code is us running away from our problems, okay, and also feeling running away from our problems and power struggles, big energy there. And it's very ungrounding, this energy, the same. And then giving away our power and feeling powerless can create joint problems. It can show up in your joints in big ways. And then my favorite, protecting yourself. Sounds logical that you should protect yourself, right? So anybody out there not defending themselves that are protecting themselves? And that's what I usually ask, is that when you protect yourself and you have to defend yourself, it's showing you that shit ain't working like you think it is. So it just isn't. So when you protect, you do have to defend. And it gets in the way of us receiving and being ourselves. And, the older we get, I think we find more functionality of really getting to be ourselves. And I think everybody has something to share in that arena, because we've all been through the validation. Nobody gets away from it. It is the suffering that leads to the clarity of who we are. And we've talked a lot in class about, can we help the kids avoid the terribleness that we went through? And we can, in a way, but we also need to realize that going through it really taught us something, and it taught us how to receive. It taught us how to be humble. It taught us how to be vulnerable. And sometimes the intellectualization of something comes nowhere near the experience of it. So that's the simplistic part of the 12 chakra system, and it goes a little farther there. We have 4 more codes after that really dive into the way that our brain organizes things in the unconscious, subconscious, consciousness, and superconsciousness. And then we begin to work with the patterns of light and how they organize their harmonics beyond that. So imagine that when we get into this emotional state and we are wobbling and we are left brain seeking to fix everything, or right brain wondering why this shit keeps happening to me over and over again, okay? To really understand what it is to be whole-brained. And fulfillment is a whole-brained activity. So without trust, we don't have a foundation for what we care about. Without understanding, we don't really know how to go through our judgments. And without self-acceptance, facing the way that we reject ourselves and other things would be impossible. So in our unconscious is a lot more complicated than the subconscious, consciousness, and superconsciousness, because the unconscious is that place where we're like, why did I do that shit again? Why did I do that? Why did I reject myself? Why did I judge everything and judge myself? Why did I try to control the outcome? Those are unconscious. So fulfillment and our being and our doing must all kind of collide in the expression and understanding of how we go through life. And receiving is not tangible in a way that we would like it to be, where we could make it comfortable for us. So we do have some shortcuts to work with that. So that's a little overview of the code and how the code organizes, and how the field organizes. And imagine there's 144 of those patterns. So there's also 144 ways that we can share and put ourselves first. And sometimes the story that we're in is too big, and we have to really face that story. And we've been building that story for so long that it has a life of its own. It's kind of like, around your parents, they may always treat you as you were a child, if, and have those assumptions. I think that's one thing we could really look at in all of that. But I hope that answered your question. So if there's any more questions or anything really, this is just the soft opening of, what we're really going to do here is I'm going to come through with some very specific short courses about some things. And I love this versus that. And awareness is this versus reality. Care versus concern. Appreciation versus rejection. Okay? And so using these dualities to understand how to go through our feelings instead of avoid them can be quite powerful in our emotional responsibility. And imagine if we could teach the kids to go through their feelings and become responsible for their own acceptance of themselves through their own rejections, through their own understanding of themselves, through their own judgments. Because anybody have their judgment stop? Anybody stop judging things or judging themselves? I know I haven't. I'm a judgmental motherfucker, just saying, okay? I am. And that's the only way I understand things also. So we don't need to throw out these feelings we don't like. We need to understand that they have a purpose, and that if we don't go through them, we don't really understand how to shape this reality. So, and there's really only 6 dualities of our feelings that we're dealing with here. But the problem is this: pity. Pity is the problem, isn't it? And so nobody out there has not really ever moved away from pity. And there's 2 types of pity, isn't there? There is the victim's pity, woe is me. And then there's the tyrant's pity, woe is you. So both of these stories get in the way of receiving. And to live from no pity in a world that uses pity like it means it's compassion, it's quite liberating. And, this makes me, hardcore about certain words like hope. Okay, there's so much self-doubt in that word. When people use it, my victim just cries out, "Oh, I hope it's going to work out." Okay, so yes. And then, of course, when we move away from the victim, because nobody wants to be the victim, do you? Then we become the tyrant to ourselves. And I think that's something that we could really, really look at. Because the tyrant is protecting the victim, and it fortifies the victim's programming in such a big way. And now I must control everything so I'm not ever victimized again. And many people built their life on this, and now they're kind of imprisoned in this unfulfilled place, because now they can't trust anyone, including themselves. They can't truly let anyone close to them, or they're going to be hurt again, although they're already hurt. The dialogue's big story is to try to tell you that you're going to avoid some kind of feeling when you're already going through it. It really blows my mind how powerful it is to try to convince us that we're not already in that state and that we are actively avoiding it. And it's actually working. It is such a rudimentary lie to us in such a big way. And it's literally in this conflict of how we actually feel about things, which is really mind-blowing. But the dialogue will never stop being the enemy. It is the part of ourselves that we must face to find ourselves. It is the part of ourselves that doesn't really know us. It doesn't care about us. It only is interested in creating self-importance. And notice that when you were a victim before or a tyrant, you may have hated being it, but sometimes it got fed and you felt a little better, but it wasn't permanent. It was this self-importance kind of hit. So, we're diving into the big story around what is really unfulfilling in our lives. And I think spell check on the site called this event unfulfillment.org, and somebody sent that to me, and I thought it was really funny. Because in a lot of ways, if we cannot recognize how we're unfulfilled and how we're disorganized, then how do we get organized? How do we look at what we want to receive and share in the situation rather than invest and then feel victimized and then have to take? So I'm going to open it up again for questions if anybody wants to ask any questions. Yeah. It looks like we got 5 people watching on Facebook there. Hey, everybody. Okay, and we got some people say, "Oh, I judge myself more than anyone." Absolutely. All right. Yep, I don't use the word hope. I opt for faith or wish when expressing what I would and am allowing to paint with the potential. No data caps. Okay, very nice, Dahlia. So yeah, this is a soft opening of our community around fulfillment. Okay, so if you're looking for things around fulfillment, or you're interested in the warrior tradition, join our community, because we are going to put a lot of stuff here and we're going to build it. 2024 is really about the presence of your individuality, and we all have something to share in that. And the more you reinvent yourself this year, the better. All of my clients, all of the people, including myself, have you not been feeling the energy that we got to do it a different way? We have to shift it a bit, okay? And the old ways, they worked, but they didn't really fulfill us. Okay? So, yes, not unfulfilled.org, it's rufulfilled.org. It's at the top of the screen there, Tamara. But I was telling a joke that spell check changed it for me, and that's what it said on this event before I changed it, unfulfilled.org. But we could call it that too, because without recognizing where we're unfulfilled, we don't really have the path to organize our fulfillment. So, yeah. Let's see if we got any questions on the Zoom here at all.
I don't have a question at the moment, but I just wanted to say, for those who are new to this material, I'm currently in the light evolution class, and it's so profound. It's so deep. And the thing that I love most about it is discovering the awareness of the things that I didn't see about myself. Complete blind spots where I thought, I'm so good, this is great. But then you find these bumps in life that you can't see where they're coming from. And this class helps you uncover the root of those and to work through them and collapse those fields. And it's really exciting that you're doing this new platform, especially with smaller mini courses. It's beautiful what we're doing, and I really like the short videos that you put in there that are so to the point, because the material is deep. It's large, it's deep, and I think in this platform we're really going to be able to have those takeaways that will tweak us in the moment, and we'll be able to just find that fulfillment, find the ability to open and receive. So please, everybody, come on in. Thank you, Sherry. Everybody, that was Sherry. I didn't put you on camera here, Sherry. I don't know if you guys wanted to be on camera. Thanks for that. That's absolutely. I think that collectively being able to really simplify things is probably the hardest thing that we could ever attempt. And it sounds like it should be easy, of course, but it's not. It's one of the hardest things. But that's what we really want to attempt to do, is simplify it, where, how can we really get the point across that we've been living away from the natural physics of things, and the physics of sound give us a way to really, understand. Like, for example, one thing we do is work with opposite frequencies, and in science we call that a scalar wave. And every time I sit down at the piano here, when I play two opposite frequencies, the same thing happens every single time. It doesn't happen because I think it should or I believe in it. It's something that is consistent. And that's what I've learned over the years, is that when we have two opposite frequencies, it shapes the lower frequency. So like when I'm super judgmental and then I gain understanding of my judgments, then it shapes those judgments and they become functional. So we had a question, is this through an app or website? It's through both. And if you go to the top of this post here in video, you'll see www.rufulfilled.org, and there are 2 links there to join this free community, which is a school platform. Okay, so it's kind of like our own little Facebook. And fulfillment is such a direct topic. And, I came across the energy this year of what would I be doing if I wasn't worried about paying the bills? Okay?
or keeping my office open, which I probably am still worried about those things. But this is what really came out of it, is that, if we build community around this, how can it support the community? Where is this necessary and functional in the community? And, is the reason why it's hard for us to have community is because of the unfulfillment that we've been through, and we've been burned so many times with the investment of things in this idea that we were going to get something back. And imagine that when we learn to show up as ourselves, then we have no expectations and we have everything to gain and we have nothing to lose. And this is why I put this together, because I have nothing to lose. And as a warrior, when you have something to lose, your dialogue runs you. And when you can really face that place of knowing that truly there is nothing to be lost, because the dialogue only promises you that you're going to gain something. It never delivers. Never. And that's what's insane about it, okay? It's kind of crazy. It's like this part of ourselves that is the biggest asshole to us. It has fucked us over so many damn times, but we still go to it. We still think it's going to do something, okay? And getting ruthless without vindictiveness, of course, is one of the ways to get real about how things are. And it's fascinating that fulfillment is this thing that we all want, but it's something that we don't really understand the science of. And I do think in the future the science will be quite easy in the magnetism of ourselves, and when we are in the whole brain or not. And they have plenty of things that will show you if you're whole brained or not in the moment. And what's fascinating is when we do this work, people will tilt their heads with the tilt of their field. And your body is such a reflector of what's happening. And, memory is magnetic. And this is why we search for one frequency that is unavailable in every story. So imagine the dialogue seeks to have self-importance in the world. It wants to be seen, it wants to be important, and it doesn't care if that importance is victim or tyrant. It'll take it. Okay? And it will validate why you have to be this way. And I think we've all entertained that more than we want to admit, or we'd like to admit, So if you're interested in this conversation around fulfillment, we're going to do it over and over again. Okay, we're going to get very specific, and I'm interested in actually feeling our feelings. So if you think this is an intellectual process, I'm going to tell you it's really not. And this process can make you feel stupid intellectually any day of the week. Okay, because we think we should be able to access things in our memory. But again, memory is magnetic, and when we're misaligned with ourselves, we're misaligned with our magnetism. And always something is missing. And I find when my clients find that piece that's missing, they begin to reorganize themselves almost instantly. And it's always the thing that the dialogue put out here like they were going to receive it, but it's the one thing they've never received in this arena. So some of the shortcuts in a way is to practice receiving, and breathing in is a part of it. So that's another part of this work is I want to put out meditations and things too that shift your awareness around receiving. And like, for example, did you know you could receive your success? Did you know you could go ahead and receive it? And then discovering what success really means to you. So, are we going to look for validation in the world over and over again, or are we going to share who we are? Are we going to show up and be ourselves and not create all the expectation of everybody else, like they're here to make us happy or fulfilled or all of that? So let's open it back up a bit for questions. If you guys got any more or any out there, let's see. Let me check the Facebook. I'm only really seeing my page. Fulfillment, what is it? Well, fulfillment is something that we're going to have to figure out what it is together, But I will say it's something that happens in real time. It's not something that's going to happen in your future or something's going to happen from avoiding your past. It's something that happens in real time and in your presence. And your presence is something your dialogue is not interested in. Okay? And there's also something that we really haven't talked about here, and it's hard to talk about because it's silence. And silence is not being quiet. Silence comes from collapsing the charge. And what I find is that when people come into their silence, their heart becomes available. And the voice of their heart and the real them begins to show up. And, in the Toltec philosophy, we have two worlds. We have our doing world and we have our being world. And our being is known as the Nagwal, and it is the silent part of ourselves. It is the part of ourselves that is beyond this body, the part of ourselves that is infinite, the part of ourselves that is never disconnected. And then we have our doing, and most people live in their doing world. And don't worry, I'm not calling you out. It's just a fact. And fulfillment bridges this other world in a way. And Tibetan Buddhism and also the warrior tradition offers us a path to begin to understand that balance comes from heading toward our suffering and creating clarity infinitely as we grow on a soul level of what it is to be connected and feel connected in this physical body. And so a big part of this work and fulfillment is embodiment. And the spirit is not outside of us. There's no going up into the spirit. So everybody that's rolling your eyes in the back of the head and think you're going up into the spirit, I'm sorry. Spirit's in your body. It's literally in your body, and it will inhabit your body. And it's always calling to you. It's always beckoning you to remember yourself. It's always there. It's always been there. Even before your dialogue formed, when you were 5, 6, 7 years old and the story began to form, the other part of you was still there and is available. So the philosophy of fulfillment, the awareness and the self-development of putting ourselves first. And if you're hearing this and you hadn't put yourself first and you think you're going to be fulfilled by everybody, you may not be ready for this conversation, because you may get pissed off that we're telling you it's not going to work. Okay? And you may be upset, but I really want it to work. So we're only really telling you that from our own experience, and that we came to the same conclusion that putting ourselves first has functionality. And I want to show you that the physics of putting yourself first means you have something to share. When you gave, you depleted yourself and you were not sharing. So giving versus sharing can be a great way to really understand things, because it's kind of like your bank account. Just give it all away, and that's giving. Okay? Sharing means that you still got some in there and it didn't break you. It didn't deplete you completely to share what you shared. Okay? It was already available. Imagine in your relationship showing up with what you have to share, okay, creates an avenue where there's a lack of deficit. There's more equality. There's more presence. There's more reality. Okay? Okay. Any other questions, you guys? Yes.
I have questions. Did you speak to the last 4 energy bodies or chakras that were derivatives of the 144, or did I miss that?
Well, yeah, I spoke to all of those. The last 4 would be 9, 10, 11, 12, getting really pissed off, running away from your problems, giving your power away, and protecting yourself. So let me give you what receiving those would be. Start at the top 12. True vulnerability, your ability to receive and share who you are. Okay, self-mastery. 11, embodiment, empowerment. 10, this is grounding. You know, what I've discovered is that when we seek things outside of ourselves and create a wobble in our field, it ungrounds us in such a distinct way. And if we're half-brained, left-brained oriented, then we're ungrounded. If we're right-brain oriented, we're also ungrounded. And to truly be grounded and to face what's coming, because harmony comes through one thing in life. Anybody know what it is? Conflict. Yes, harmony comes through conflict. When you face things, you create harmony. When you run away from them, you don't. Okay, and that's the same in music. We need that conflict to make things sound pretty, and the nature of the universe is tension and resolution. And ladies, you represent the tension. That's why you bring the tension. Okay, and men, you represent the resolution. Okay, this is how we reflect nature. Notice we think negative or feminine is loss and decrease, isn't it? But in music and vibration, negative is tension and increase of energy. Okay, masculine is resolution. We just want everything to be cool, right, guys? Yeah. So it's fascinating, you know, when I really got into this work and I began to connect it with sound, and there's some discrepancies of how we intellectually think about positive and negative and the way that works in music, you know, and masculine and feminine. And I should always ask women if negative is loss and bad, you know, is that functional for you, and positive is good? Does that really work? You know what I'm saying? You know, negative means receptive, okay? And, you know, think about our anatomy, of course, okay, in that, okay? I'm pretty sure we're pretty clear with that without me making my usual bananas and donuts comment, okay? Right. So, I forgot what I was talking about. Maybe ask another question.
The last, not positive aspect, but the last
right.
Self-mastery.
Yes. So we were grounding, of course, and now doing your best, okay, is your magnetic presence. By the way, this is 8. This is the 8th code, your 8th chakra also. And then coming down into the body, 7, fulfillment, connection, passion, okay. 6, awareness. 5, honesty. 4, care. 3, clarity. 2, value. And 1, worth. And so the way that our inner and outer field organizes is a really, really big process that we do. And maybe we'll do a mini course on the inner and the outer field and how that works, because that's a lot of fun. And the 5 ways that we misalign the harmonics of the heart is also something we'll probably do a short mini course on. So if you're just joining us, go to areyoufulfilled.org and click the join our community if it resonates with you. And it's a free community, and we are opening up this space to create an avenue for some projects, for an avenue for getting direct and honest about things, which I really like. All right. Anybody else got any more comments out there or any more questions from Zoom? Pain for harmony. Okay. All right. So, hey, Tamara out there, what's the opposite of pain? I usually say that most people, like 60-something% of the population, can't tell me the opposite of pain.
Joy.
Oh, that's the opposite of sorrow. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we can't find the opposite of pain is because we attach to the pain. We want to reject it. We want to push it away. But it's really, really simple. Let's give everybody a chance to comment maybe the opposite of pain. 180 degrees. Pain. All right. Any guesses?
Ease.
Close. It's a lot more simpler than that. Oh, Delia got it. Pleasure. Aha. Notice that we attach to the pain because we don't want to go through it, but it means that we don't make space for ourselves to feel good. Isn't that wild? That the effect of attaching to pain doesn't make space for us to feel good in any way. It is a trip. So on the mini courses, our opposite feelings, we're going to focus on that in a big way, and I have some great meditations that we're going to put up for that. Because the more we learn how to feel two opposite feelings in the same space, the more we can shape our awareness field and create the awareness field and change the gravity. And let me describe what I'm talking about. For example, the awareness of how you appreciate things or are appreciated in your life, or how you accept yourself, is only relative to how you reject yourself and how you go through that rejection. Same as judgment. Same as judgment. All right, volume is low. That's weird. Same as judgment and forgiveness and understanding, control and trust, fear and love, sorrow and joy, pain and pleasure. So these are the 6 dualities of our feelings. And this is what we call the Toltec assemblage point system. Now, you won't find the opposite frequencies in their tradition because this is where the spirits kind of intervened and showed me. Although in the Carlos Castaneda books, they describe the energy like a circle. And that's exactly what a scalar wave is. It's 2 opposite frequencies that gives you the totality of a full circle. Yes, and so this is a very old technology, okay? This is a very old technology. The universe uses this technology to organize things and shift gravity and create self-awareness. And self, here's the key word, self-replication. See, we kind of lived in a closed-loop system when we seek validation outside of ourselves. Everything gets shut down. And when we put ourselves first, we begin to self-replicate. And self-replication is a fractal thing. And that means that if I put myself first, I can share with everybody. Not just you or one person, you know. I have it to share instantly everywhere. And that's really hard for us to understand because we think that we choose what to share, but what we share is equal to what we receive. Now, we may choose what to give because subconsciously or unconsciously we know that we're not going to receive anything back. So if you're interested in continuing this conversation, and it's going to be up here in some of these areas for a while, but eventually we're going to have it all on one place, and I tried to get it there today, but they wanted me to upgrade some other stuff, so I got to look into all that and see how that works. So yeah.
I have a question. So you're talking about polarities and dualities and like a spectrum, and I'm curious if the Toltec, I'm just thinking about the pyramids and mountains and gravity, and if there's a way to transcend or unite those particular things, or if it is more circles and triangles overlaid upon each other, if that makes sense.
Sure. Imagine that, for example, your pain body and your light body is this same organization of circles and triangles like you just described it. So are you familiar with the flower of life in those 6 circles? So yes, okay. So imagine your pain body is a flower of life with those 6 circles that's not making the flower, and it's not aligned. Make sense? Right. And if you also look inside of the flower, it's a 6-pointed star. And the masculine energy is the triangle pointed up. And I like to get really clear of what the hell is the masculine thing, because people talk about it all the time, right? So, ladies, tell me if you agree with this, but you accept us as men when we are appreciative, understanding, and trustworthy. You don't accept us when we reject you, judge you, and try to control you. This is the masculine energy. The feminine triangle pointed down is how we face our fears to find the love inside of us, how we feel connected in pleasure. And so for women and the feminine, notice fears can be a big motive for the underlying things that happen. And for the masculine, the direct action of judgment, rejection, and control is usually the go-to. And one thing I've learned is that when your feelings become integrated, they're functional. And this is what having access to your light body is, but to get it, you have to go through your pain body, and you have to shift the lower frequencies out of your pain body so that that six-pointed star, or that flower of life, forms perfectly in its perfect geometry. And, how do you make the flower of life? 6 circles, 6 awareness fields, okay? So, there's a reason why the geometry and sound are the same thing. See, sound and geometry are the same, and if you take the chromatic scale and put it on a circle, you will see all of the geometry in music. It's everywhere. But it's also how the whole universe organizes things. So it's this language of how things get fractal and self-replicate. We are self-replicating. And think about that, ladies. You guys have babies. You're self-replicating, okay? And you ever talk about a person with a contagious spirit? You just want to be around this person, okay? They are self-replicating. And it's shareable. They're pulsing. And that's the other thing, too, is that we're all pulsing with our breath, but emotionally, a lot of us are charging, and we're protecting, defending, or probably should, positive or negative charge, which attracts the same charge, and eventually, hopefully, teaches us how to receive and to pulse, okay? So health is the pulse, just like our breath. Imagine if your life was dependent on you pulsing in your feelings, we'd all be dead, okay? By our teenage years, we'd be done, okay? But yeah, any other questions out there? Comments? Let's see here. Okay, that's old. Here we go. Here we go. Let's see here. But thanks for hanging out with me here. I'm going to shut it down here in a bit. See if I can find... I'll have to mess with that later. But yeah, areyoufulfilled.org. A lot of the people that are going to be on there, they weren't here today, and I kind of sprung this on everybody because the first day of spring, and I want to make this part of my regular daily reality. And I think some of you on Facebook remember I was doing a Light Body Evolution weekly class, and I just didn't really feel like the conversation was carried properly in a way, so I kind of want to do it differently. And it's not always my highest excitement to just get on here and run my mouth, okay? I kind of like to have a plan in a way, or somebody asking me questions, or somebody that can take the attention off of me for 3 seconds. But yeah, so thanks for hanging out, and look for new stuff on the platform that's happening, and there's all kinds of ways to participate. Posting things there, asking questions. This is the place that if you want to really, really get down with fulfillment, this is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we're interested in. And this is the kind of the community that we want to create. And this is the community that we are creating. And, it's hard to collaborate with people that aren't happy and fulfilled inside of themselves. But when we know what we have to share, we can show up and do that. And so I'm here to help support all the projects of my students and everybody else that is interested in this simplification of life, and making content. Okay. So, we have some really refined ways to get direct and assist. And so if you want to produce your own class here on the areyoufulfilled.com, it will be available. and helping you focus that in on that content to really make it streamlined is something I do want to assist everybody with. And I don't think that that is you paying me money or anything like that. It's more of, creating some outlines for some things that really work and seeing if that's functional for you in creating that content. And we'll see, you guys haven't seen any of the content that we've created for it yet, so you don't really have anything to compare it to at the moment. So, but that will be coming, and I want to make it simple. I want to make it entertaining. I also want to make it educational and to the point, and practical. I think that there is a practicality to our spirituality, and I'm not the person trying to convince somebody that I'm healing them. Okay, I want them to heal themselves. I want them to know that awareness is something that can be developed, and developing your awareness will be something that you never really regret. So whether you take any of the courses where we dive deeply into those things really doesn't matter. And we're also going to finally do the sound healing in some way. It's going to happen, okay? It's crazy how long things take for us to put energy into them, and how much energy it takes. But this year, it's asking us to get present. It's asking us to just show up and do it. And that's what this is. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do it. This is what I have to share. And so welcome to areyoufulfilled.org. Look for more things to happen there for sure. And let's build this community around what's functional for us. And if you want to take this community and expand it in your own community, that's what my fulfillment practitioners are doing in their communities. And I want to support that in every way. Because who doesn't want to be fulfilled? Okay? Anybody out there? Anybody out there that says fuck fulfillment? Okay? That I'm fucking done. I'm never going to be fulfilled. Fuck this. I don't think it's human in a way, So, us getting really clear about what emotional responsibility is, emotional integrity, and using our feelings appropriately rather than weaponizing pity and other things like that we've experienced in our life and all of that, which are fine, by the way, okay? It's not a big deal, and the less we make a big deal out of it, the more we begin to really understand what's happening in real time. So, also, before we end it, I'm pretty sure the planet, okay, the planet is coming back to its vertical reality. That's why we can't work out the outcome like we used to, So to be balanced and to head toward balance and move through your suffering and what it is to balance your masculine and feminine, I will get very specific here, okay? Because we throw that around a lot, masculine and feminine, okay? But let's get real practical about what that means. And in the masculine, accepting ourselves through our rejections, understanding ourselves through our judgments, and trusting ourselves through our control and betrayal is quite important. And the feminine is quite important too. And ladies, you guys are understanding what feminine masculinity is. And men, you're going to have to learn what femininity is, okay? Because it balances your body. It balances your field in such a way. And for all the men out there, knowing what you care about is a fucking superpower. And I guarantee you, if you know what you care about, then your partner, whatever that may be, will meet you directly in that, because it's real. Okay? And nothing is forever. Everything is constantly transforming, and clarity is an infinite journey, and overcoming the idea of arrival is something that we will all have to do together, because there's really not any arrival. So thanks everybody for hanging out with areyoufulfilled.org. Please join our community if you're interested and you want to be a part of it and you want to be active, okay? It is on the school app, okay? And we did it this way not just for the mini courses and all of that, which I really like. I did it because it literally gives us a place to connect and get functional from there. So hopefully I didn't run my mouth or ramble, and definitely more to come. And so check out the website, which is just a link to the community. And hopefully we'll see you there. All right. I don't know how to stop this. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. All right.